White systemic oppression towards black people. Is it a phenomenon that only takes place between palm-colored and black people? And if it's not, then why is it more evident between the two? Is it the attribution of slavery and the systemic oppression that black people faced from palm-coloreds that has resulted in this superiority complex from palm-coloreds that perceives themselves as the upper class and the black community as the lower class? Hence the marginalization that black people receive from palm-coloreds. Or is it just something different altogether? Take for example, maybe it's just normal hatred that palm-coloreds have towards black people because they view them as their competition and nothing else. You leave your thoughts in the comment section, and the reason why I ask this, because some black people might have different perspectives and opinions to say about this. Now, first up, is the systemic oppression different that black men face compared to that black women face? You leave your thoughts in the comment section and tell me what you think, because I am not expert on this. Now, let us begin today's topic, and I'll see you at the end for the breakdown.
But I am sick and tired of everything in this world being dictated by what white people think and how they feel. Because how are you going to tell me that black women are the #1 consumers of most things, but businesses and marketing teams don't market to black women because they think black women are ghetto, nasty, nappy-headed hoes who have 3, 4, 5 baby daddies, and they think that marketing to black women diminishes their image as a brand? The same black women that are putting money in their pockets. And I'm not making it up. I finally saw a black creator last night who works in marketing say the quiet part out loud. These businesses don't market to us because they think that the average black person is ghetto and poor. And then on the flip side, the ones that do market to black women have little to no black people working for them, or the black people that do work for them, they treat like shit. The reason why we don't get black leads in films is because white people feel like they cannot relate to black characters. The story could literally have nothing to do with race. Simply just put a black girl on the screen as the romantic lead, and it takes white people out. White people only associate black people with their struggle, which is why when they put black characters on screen simply just existing, white people feel like they can't relate, because white people do not see us as human beings. They do not see us as multifaceted, multidimensional human beings. That's why we don't get black leads. Monoracial, non-racially ambiguous, non-light-skinned, Afrocentric featured black women. Or when we do get cast as romantic leads like Francesca, who's playing Juliet in the West End production of Romeo and Juliet, the vitriol that I have seen that girl receive actually disgusts me. The amount of people that I've seen compare that girl to a man, compare it to an animal, or just straight up say that they think she's ugly. Why the do you think that you feel that way? Because white people have convinced everyone in the world that monoracial Afrocentric features are unattractive. How is it that black women are one of the most educated group of people in this country, yet almost across every single field they are paid less than their non-black counterparts, people who they're most likely more educated than? I saw this video a couple months ago by this creator. I don't know her name, but if you know Clark and follow Clark, who I love, she's made a couple of videos with her. She's really light-skinned. She wears her hair in like this straight bob, and I remember coming across a video of hers where she was replying to a comment that was asking her why she has stopped her natural hair journey, because apparently she had been wearing her hair natural, working on her curls, things like that. And her response basically was that she noticed that her engagement went down and that TikTok wasn't pushing her videos as much since she started wearing her natural curls out. And that, honestly, that was probably the first time where I saw something that actually made me feel discouraged, because I never would have thought that something as simple as how my hair grows out of my head could be the reason why my content isn't getting pushed and why I don't have as much engagement as other content creators who are doing something similar to what I'm doing. It's just so infuriating to think of how much is stacked against black women that we know and that we don't know about. And for me, it's like, am I expected to do this for the rest of my life? Because I know I am not going to spend the rest of my life trying to prove to white people that I'm the good black, that I am not this inflated stereotype of a black person that they refuse to let go of. Non-black women will never know how dehumanizing it is for at every turn to be told how unrelatable you are, how undesirable you are, how unmarketable you are, how un-everything you are on a daily basis. And what's even more insane, they hate us, but they love to imitate us because they love everything about black women on non-black bodies. I don't know, y'all. I just feel like this conversation around pay discrepancy between black creators and non-black creators is just like really getting to me. Because for me, it's like, how long do we have to fight this fight? I know we cannot be expected to fight this fight for the rest of our lives because I'm already exhausted. All these barriers, all these obstacles, not because I'm a bad person, not because I have a bad character, not because I've done bad things, but because I'm black. Like, are we being so for real? Honestly, it becomes more and more insane to me every day.
You say this to the Jewish community when they discuss the Holocaust? Also, this comment just shows how black-centered you all are. That your focus is on just attempting to gaslight the black diaspora. Because you never heard of MMIW? You've never heard of Land Back? You haven't seen them working on legislation regarding getting clean water, reclaiming their sacred land. You haven't seen their very public discourse regarding blood quantum? You haven't seen them discussing the $5 Indian roll? They are loud. They are working diligently to right the wrongs committed against them. They are boisterous in protecting their community. Hell, they have to scream for you not to wear their regalia, their culture as costumes, and to not sexualize them. So, sorry not sorry that you are choosing to let all of us know that above all you fervently hate black people and you pay no attention to anyone but yourself. It is abundantly clear that you don't truly realize what your comment says about you. So without TikTok, having earnest conversations with black women wasn't an option for you. Building community with black women wasn't an option for you. You simply utilized proximity at work, in the neighborhood, etc. as enough diversity for you. You never paid any attention to our existence. You never paid any attention to how you interacted with us. And being on TikTok, you got a chance to see and hear for yourself. And that removing the curtain and exposing the Wizard of Oz was too much for you. And accountability for yourself and your sisterhood was too much for you. And you're taking it as hate. Now I noticed that you utilize the term reverse racism, which is foolishness at best. Because if you reverse something, what are you doing? Take a moment to think. We black women discussing our experiences with white women is not a form of racism. We holding you accountable and calling you out for your problematic actions and verbiage is not racist. You choosing to ignore our existence until you search for entertainment online and you assume that that entertainment is going to come in the form of a feminine black face. That's not our problem. Because this comment does not reek of deconstruction or searching out edification. It reeks of you find your entertainment through black women, so you sought us out, and what you received wasn't entertaining. So now you're butthurt. You came to this app for us to be your Negro, and when you found out that we are not, you are now in shambles. Sucks to be you. Truly, sucks to be you.
White women, have you heard this question being asked by black women? Would they rather be in a boardroom with a white man or a white woman? And they're choosing white man. The creators, Portia, White Woman Whisperer, and a few more have been having this discussion, and it's been kind of controversial. One of their pages, actually, maybe a couple, have gotten demonetized and taken down as a result. But as I'm thinking about it, something really hit me. One of the creators had a video about how white women's tears are dangerous. And this is because, in their point of view and in their explanation, when a white woman cries, it can activate the violence of white men. I've been processing this a lot. As I've been processing it, I remembered and thought about the story of Emmett Till. And when I have heard that story, out of all the people involved, out of all the violence and all the horror, there's one person that has always made my blood run cold, and that is the woman who lied about Emmett. The white woman who claimed that she was in danger or that she was offended or whatever by Emmett. Maybe it's because the violence of the men didn't surprise me or has happened a lot, and the deception of this woman did surprise me and did seem so insidious and so dangerous and so scary. She broke this norm that I feel like we all have, this underlying value of protecting a child. She broke that in order to call into action the violence of her partner. Whether she was trying to make him jealous or whatever the theories are. I mean, there's a lot of theories about why she would have done it. Maybe she felt unsafe from him as well. Whatever it was, that has always been the scariest part of that story for me, and the most disgusting part of that story, and the most surreal, just chilling part of that story. So then, in a very small way, it makes sense now. That is scarier. That thought of a woman betraying that trust is scarier to me as well. Maybe that's a tiny part of what they're feeling. And so I guess what I'm just saying is processing this, thinking about it, and realizing that I have the same reaction in some small way can help it make sense and not be offensive. Like, these lessons come little by little for me. They have, at least. In grad school, I had a similar lesson where there were 2 black women in our cohort, in all of our classes. And we had a race and social justice and cultural class. And one of these women had to actually say, I do not want to be the poster child for my race. I do not want to be the spokesperson. It's too much work. It's too exhausting. And just hearing that was the first time I had heard that concept. And it made sense to me as a religious minority. I also didn't want to be the voice for my religion, you know? And so being able to put it in perspective and not, I guess, just think it through and think, what can I take from this? And how can I learn a lesson from this and be less of a burden on other people and be more of a true advocate and ally, not just in word, has been a growth process for a long time for me. So this is just a new step on that. Hopefully that they have this totally different experience that I will never have, that I can choose to understand at least choose to digest and make sense of, even if it doesn't resonate right away. Letting it just kind of sit and bounce around in my head has really helped me bring more understanding to it. Letting it just kind of simmer as I listen to more information and not react right away with emotion has been helpful for me. And just taking the time to believe them that this is actually their take on it, they're not just trying to be mean to us, is super important.
Is a threat. I am not shocked by this pre-primary school level of thinking. Your cranial capacity is below the Earth's core. The power dynamic that is involved in the definition of racism is systemic power. Not singular power in a position within a company. Not perceived power by being a member of Congress. See, you decided to leap into a conversation that the gray matter betwixt your ears is not equipped to handle. But your ego that is fueled by your white privilege won't let you back down and receive the edification that you so fervently need. It is clear to the rest of us that your intellectual growth was stunted long ago and replaced with the ease of racial indoctrination, because it taught you that your mediocrity was all you needed. Didn't take any energy, didn't take any effort. Now, repetitively in this comment section, you keep talking about people being there as if they're waging war on you, yet you are there to respond to each and every comment, further proving yourself to be an example of an annoying alabaster Annabelle. Now, your community's desire for individualism is shining bright within you, because it is showing us that you have no friends or family to call you in to get you to stop embarrassing yourself in a manner that will be eternally attached to you via your digital footprint. And as for the threat that you feel was handed down to you, attempting to invoke that default damsel in distress bat signal will not save you from your own utter ignorance. Now, I suggest you tap into a dictionary and find yourself some tutelage and begin your deconstruction. Because this that you're doing, the reaching, the stretching, the fighting for your life, it's got to be painful, especially for someone so remedial as yourself. And finally, you shouldn't request that someone be taught anything until you can show yourself to be a suitable, a formidable student yourself.
Nobody is really an expert on these topics, and that is the reason why it is very important for you to leave your perspectives in the comment section regarding our daily discourse, because you never know, maybe your insightful perspective might help us find that answer that we've been looking for, right? Now, to answer the big question, do black men and black women face different sets of systemic oppression? Let's take a look at this in closer detail. Systemic oppression affects black men and black women differently due to intersecting layers of race and gender that shape their experiences within society. So, when it comes to black men, in criminal justice system, we're talking about mass incarceration. Black men are disproportionately represented in the criminal justice system. They are more likely to be arrested, convicted, and serve longer sentences compared to their palm color counterparts for similar offenses. So there is that on the black men's side. For example, the war on drugs. Policies have led to higher incarceration rates among black men, perpetuating circles of poverty and disenfranchisement. So it's like the discussion is always going on. Slavery might have been abolished, but if you're found wanting by the palm color law and the justice system, you still end up serving and acting like a slave in the justice system. The second thing is stereotypes and perceptions. So we're talking about hypermasculinity. This is the stereotype that most black men often face, that portrays them as inherently aggressive, dangerous, or hypermasculine. This stereotype not only affects societal perceptions, but also impacts interactions with law enforcement, employment opportunities, and social mobility. It's this stereotype that places black men in this corner of always being hypermasculine. Black men should never cry. Even in African societies, I've heard of this term, where our mothers would tell us when we were young, you are a man and you are a black man for that matter. You should never cry. I think it's an old age thing. So the third one is education and employment. School to prison pipeline. Black boys are disproportionately disciplined in schools, often facing harsher punishments for similar behaviors compared to their palm color peers. I've always asked my fellow students at school, why is it that as black students, we always cut our hair? But if it's a palm color student out of our school, they are allowed to keep their hair. Why is that? And my friends would tell me, well, because they're palm colored, because their hair is supposed to be long and ours is supposed to be short. Like they gave me this biased explanation when I asked this. So there is that as well. And if you're found keeping long hair compared to a palm color counterpart or student, you're gonna be punished, and that palm color student is just gonna be looked at. So this contributes to higher dropout rates and limits access to higher education and employment opportunity. So the other thing is health disparities, healthcare access. Black men face disparities in healthcare access and outcomes, including higher rates of chronic illnesses such as hypertension and diabetes. This is exacerbated by socioeconomic factors and systemic biases within the healthcare system. So the notion of a man being hypermasculine, and black people being more dominant in terms of genes. I don't know where this phenomenon came from, but I think that's why we are treated differently, even in healthcare. Now, when it comes to black women, we're talking about intersectional oppression, the double jeopardy. Black women experience oppression that intersects race and gender. They face unique challenges such as navigating stereotypes of being both hyper-sexualized and simultaneously devalued in society. For example, the stereotype of the angry black woman. We all know this, right? Now, this affects how their emotions and behaviors are perceived and judged. So we're talking about a black woman is always angry, she's always aggressive when she's answering you. So there is that stereotype. And the other thing is wage gap and economic inequality. So economic disparities is the point. Black women earn significantly less than their palm color female counterparts, and even less than black men and palm color women. So black men compared to black women are placed a little bit higher than them, right? A little bit superior than them. So black men have a little bit of a privilege when it comes to pay gap compared to black women. So there is that. This wage gap persists across educational levels and professional sectors, limiting economic mobility and financial stability. Let's talk about healthcare and reproductive justice. We're talking about maternal mortality. So black women are at a higher risk of maternal mortality compared to women of other racial and ethnic groups. So there is that thing also. The thing that is making a lot of black women give up on, childbearing and simply becoming mothers. They just don't want to go through the pain, the harsh traumatic pain, because some end up getting unalived because of this perspective. This disparity reflects systemic issues such as inadequate healthcare access, biases in medical treatment, and socioeconomic factors. And I think the major contributor here is biases in medical treatment. This one has resulted in the unaliving of many of our sisters. Now, let's talk about the final aspect in this comparison, which is political representation. So they are underrepresented. right? Black women are underrepresented in positions of political power and leadership roles. This lack of representation hinders their ability to advocate effectively for policies that address their specific needs and concerns of black women and their communities. So you see that. And this is not just in the American society. This is all over across Africa as well. But back in ancient Africa, I guess, black women used to be queens and rulers, right? Rulers over men, decision makers. So there used to be that aspect. But after palm colors disrupted the way of life of Africans and black people, this changed, right? Black women have become more marginalized. Even amongst black people themselves. Black women are subjected to being always the housewife. You have to be left at home to take care of the bundles of joy, So there's that aspect to consider in the underrepresentation in politics. Because what is a black woman gonna say? Just look at some religious societies, right, where black women or women are not even allowed to participate in any leadership roles. There you have it. And if you are left behind, this was just a little straw or a little walk around the differences in systemic oppression faced by black men compared to black women. The reason why black women gave us the bear, I wanted to say panda, but it's the bear versus man scenario in the forest, right? Because they were saying you never know what a black man, or rather what a man can do to you in a forest, right? But I think that discussion was centered around black people rather than palm coloreds, and that is the reason why I said a black man, because palm coloreds later jumped into that. But what else haven't they jumped into that was originally intended for black people, right? Now, you leave your thoughts in the comment section and tell me what you think about today's discussion. I would like to hear your significant perception concerning our topics. Please like, share, and subscribe. Signing off. See you in the next one.